Good morning, good evening. Welcome everyone to the Saturday Sangha. I'm John and I'm speaking to you from Damascus, Oregon.
Jai Gurudev, I'm Denise.
And Jai Gurudev, I'm George, speaking to you from Kathmandu in Nepal.
And welcome to the Sangha from Claudia in Damascus too.
And hello, this is Shauna. Nice to have all of you. We have Paul in North Texas. Please tell us where you're joining from. And Namaskar Vijay in San Francisco. And we have Maria, hello in Germany. And hi Anil in Pune. Namaskar. Martin in Florida. Hi again. And we have Amit in Austin, Texas. And hey Walter in North Carolina. And Ivy in New Mexico. And hello Suresh in Chicago. Good to have you. And hi Lawrence. Jai Gurudev in Colorado. And Mikey in Los Angeles, our past home. And hi Kanwal in Bay Area. Namaskar. And Rajan Ranju, so good to have you. Jai Gurudev. And hi Akriti in Ohio. And we have Nick, hello in Baltimore. And Daniel in Oakland. And hello Vivian. And good morning, Leanne at 1 or 2 in the morning. And hi, we have Sibylle in Austria and Sudhir in Pleasanton. And many, many more people. So I'll just mention your names: Linda, Steve, Bruce, Jenya, Razdan, Troy, Patricia, Bill, Archana, Alexander, and many, many more people, Anne and Ed. Thank you all for joining as we sing the Agora mantra. Who is it, Claudia?
It's George.
Wonderful.
You know George?
I just met him.
Om Agorebio to Gorebio Gora Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste Rudra Rupebhya Agorebio to Gorebio Gora Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste Rudra Rupebhya Agorebhyo to Gorebhyo Gora Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste Rudra Rupebhya. O Lord Shiva, you alone transform yourself into all forms, into the forms of the powers of Rudra as Agora, the enlightening and uplifting energy, Goratari, the frightful, darkening energy which pushes one down, and Gora, the energy which keeps one fixed, neither rising or falling. These forms, embodied in Rudra Shiva, are helpful to aspirants while they are aware, and frightful for the ones who are ignorant, pushing them down and down. Jai Gurudev.
So let's practice our meditation together. So again, starting this practice, if you have your own practice, please practice that. Or join us for this practice that we learned with Swamiji for the next 10 minutes. Starting off by sitting up tall. Just feel yourself arriving. And beginning to notice that you're breathing, noticing the inhale and the exhale, just the natural free-flowing movement of breath. As your gaze softens, as you find the space on the floor, bringing your attention there. And then over time, beginning to notice that there's 4 parts of the breath: the inhale, the pause, and the exhale and the pause. Just feeling into this rhythm. And as you inhale, bring awareness to the space between the two eyebrows. And as you exhale, gently rest in the pause at the end of the exhale. And you continue this way, inhaling awareness at the space between the eyebrows. And exhaling, resting in the pause. And carrying this turning point throughout the practice. Mind will wander. Bring your attention back without judgment, again and again. Continue. slowly surfacing from your practice. And just sitting here in stillness for a little bit. George?
Yes. Okay. So we need to do a little recap here. And of course, some of you may be joining for the first time. We're listening to Swamiji's explanation of the Shiva Sutras, a very important text of Kashmir Shaivism. And we're already at the very end, the last 4 verses. In fact, we're finishing verse 42 tonight. We'll finish that. So the first part of this verse, which we've already covered, talked about the yogi, how this yogi treats his body or her body just like a blanket, just like a covering. They're not attached to the body at all because they're completely absorbed in the state of God consciousness. And the next part of this is very interesting because there was a gap in the recording, which often happens, and then fortunately John turned the recording on again because people were asking questions about how do the senses work, and it is the last part of the verse. So there are some terms here which we need to understand a little bit, but basically Swamiji says that for the person in the supreme state of God consciousness, they experience their organs of action, their what are called their karmendriyas, their organs of knowledge, their gyanendriyas, not as organs, but as yoginis, as these feminine energies which have an important role to play in this universal play. And sometimes that role is as mischievous energies too, of what's called the Shakti chakra. A couple of terms, or one term at least we need to clarify, is the term of yoni and yoni varga. Swamiji's going to mention this, that yoni varga is in the 3rd sutra of the First Awakening. And it's a very important term because this word yoni has many, many meanings in Sanskrit. I've written some down here, and generally it's related or it's translated as the female organ of generation or the womb. But if you go through all of the meanings, you get a much broader scope that any place of birth is also one of the meanings, or the generating cause, a spring, a fountain, a form of existence, water, primary cause, and the base or foundation of life. So we're going to dive in here and listen to Swamiji first, and then afterwards to give a clear explanation of what the yogini's role is, and also what the siddhas' role is in terms of, or as the understanding is in Kashmir Shaivism. We've got a very nice extract from one of the other texts. So we're going to hand over to Claudia, and we'll hear what Swamiji says.
Yajur yogi.
Yoginya.
Yoginya. Yoginya means plural of yoginis. Huh? Yoginis are those when all this collection, all this chakra of organic field, or in other sense, when in the organs of action and organs of perception, organs of knowledge and organs of perception are elevated. Huh? When these 2 kinds of organs are elevated in their state, in their existence, huh? Do you understand? They take the formation of yoginis. They are yoginis. Your sight is yogini. Then, whenever you see It is not seen by your eyes, it is seen by yogini. Whenever you hear from your ears, it is not heard by your ear, it is heard by yogini. All these classes of organs become yoginis because they are elevated in God consciousness. That is yogini gan. Yoni. Yoni is the cause of universe. Yoni is the cause of universe, and that yoni is actually the Visarga Shakti, the creative energy of Lord Shiva. Yoni is the creative energy of Lord Shiva, not destructive energy.
So Visarga is the secret of Ekara.
Yes, Visarga.
The secret of Visarga is Bindu.
Yes. You'll come to know by and by perfectly. Yoni Varga means the class of yonis. The class of yonis, the collection of yonis, or the mass of yonis, is Mayi Mala. Is Mayi Mala. Is, in other words, this is technical word for Mayi Mala. That impurity that conducts differentiated perception. Ravi means sun. Sun does not mean sun, actually sun. Sun means pramana. Cognition. Cognition means sun, Ravi. Suryam pramanam yityahu. But we'll do only this much today.
So that was quite a brief section, but since this term of understanding yoginis and siddhas is so important, we've taken an extract from a very older text called the Vatulanath Sutras, which Swamiji translated. We've never published that yet, so this is from this is verse 5 from that. But John, do you want to say anything at this point, John?
Just interesting to see how this thing flows out, from this. Everything is feminine energy in this world. And so these yoginis are these feminine energies that are attached to our yogas of action and yogas of knowledge. Karma are organs of knowledge.
Yes. And Swamiji goes into quite a bit of detail here, so we'll listen to that, and then I'm sure there's going to be a few interesting questions. Claudia, you can go to that second audio. This is not from the Shiva Sutras, remember, this is something that we're brought in to give a more elaboration on these important terms or understandings of Kashmir Shaivism.
Siddha yogini sangatat mahamelapodaya. Sangatat means by the unification, by uniting. By uniting Siddha with yogini, by uniting yogini with Siddha, by uniting ahanta with yidanta, and by uniting yidanta with ahanta, by uniting God consciousness with universal consciousness, and by uniting universal consciousness with God consciousness. These two also you can. And in Charyakrama too, Siddha Yogini Sangatat, that you can also. Siddha Yogini Sangatat. When individual soul is united, gets unification with universal soul. That is Siddha Yogini Sangata. Then a rise of Mahamelapa will take place. Mahamelapa Udaya. Great unification, great unity, universal unity will take place. Great universal unity will get rise. What is that great universal unity? Everywhere, wherever you go, you will find Shiva and Shakti. You will find Aham and Idam. You will find nothing other than that. Everywhere you will find Shiva Shakti Samavesha. Shiva Shakti Samaveshamayam Jagatpadi. The whole universe is held in your consciousness as one with that unity of Shiva and Shakti, unity of this whole universe with God. God and universe become one there.
Can you repeat this quotation? Shiva Shakti Samavesh.
It's not quotation. Shiva Shakti Samavesh. It's not quotation.
Sutra.
It's not sutra.
Siddha yogini Sangha.
These are my words.
Can you repeat your words?
Entry in Shiva Shakti.
Shiva Shakti Samavesh.
Shesha. Trance of Shiva and Shakti everywhere. Trance of Shiva and Shakti is found everywhere. In degraded state of action too, you will find the unification of Lord Shiva with Shakti. When you are abusing some person, the realized soul will, in that abusement too, will realize that is the unity of God, Lord and universe. It is the unity of Shiva and Shakti. This will take place only by the unification of Siddha and Yogini. When you unite Siddhas with yoginis. Yoginis are all organs of actions, organs of cognition. These are yoginis. Siddha is there, ego and mind. Ego and mind, ahankara and mind. And when you realize that ahankara and mind is united with all these organs of action and organs of cognition, then Mahamelapa will give rise. Mahamelapa will take place. You will find everywhere Melapa. Melapa means unification of Shiva and Shakti. There will be no distinction of master and disciple. There will be no distinction of sex, no distinction of bad and good, right and wrong. Only unification of one with another will take place. This is the meaning of Siddha Yogini Sangatas Mahamelapodaya. Energy of will, energy of cognition and energy of action. All these fivefold energies. Energy of consciousness, energy of bliss, energy of will, energy of cognition and energy of action are also called yoginis. First is energy of consciousness. Second is energy of bliss. Third is energy of will. Fourth is energy of cognition and fifth is energy of action. These five energies are also called yoginis. And energy holder Shiva is called Siddha. And when you unite this with this with these, when you unite Lord Shiva with these yoginis, fivefold energies, Mahamelapo will rise, give rise. Great unification of universal being will take place. Everywhere you will find Shiva and Shakti acting, in good way or bad way. Everything will be divine.
This is a place, George, isn't it, where again and again that yogi, he's experiencing this reality. He experiences the reality of his own being in everything. That's the point here. So everything you see, everything, whether it's good things, bad things, whatever, there's nothing outside of this because that's all there is. And everything that you experience is filled with the unity of God consciousness everywhere, always. That's the unity of Shiva and Shakti, because that's the reality of the universe. Being and becoming, the reality of the world. And so you experience whatever you see, that's how you see things.
And in that state, because it's a universal state, this yogi's body isn't like located just in his body there. His body becomes universal. So from the other end of the 118 worlds because this yogi is very much aware of the whole process of creation, because he's tapped into the essence of this yoni varga, the essence of how creation came out through this womb, this garbha, the universal garbha of Shakti. And that's what that Sangata means, that infinite embrace, Swamiji calls it, of Shiva and Shakti together, and that the universe coming out from that.
Mm.
Questions?
We have a few questions here. There was one from earlier, the first part from Suresh. She says, how does the sun become pramana, aka proof? Clarification about this, please.
Pramana, there's not proof. Pramana means cognition, cognitive organs. In Shaivism, you have prameya, pramana, and pramatri. So what you have there is that prameya is the objective world, pramana is the cognitive world, and pramatri is your subjective world. And proof means to prove something, you have to be able to see it. So it's related to your cognitive organs. You have to cognize something in order to be able to say what it is. Simple as that.
So Nick here wants to know, could you please clarify, I'm sure there'll be other people who want to know this too, universal God consciousness in relation to God consciousness?
Mm. Universal God consciousness and God consciousness. God consciousness is a state of reality that transcends the world of change. The state of God consciousness is the state of the person who experiences that state of God consciousness. He experiences it separate from the world that he's living in. So a yogi would be in samadhi. We call this nimilana samadhi. He's in the internal state of samadhi. He experiences that state. He experiences that God consciousness inside, but it's isolated. I mean, it's not isolated. It's not filled with the world. It's separate from the world. So it's a state of God consciousness without the world. And universal God consciousness is that state of God consciousness filled with the world, and where that yogi takes that state of God consciousness that he's experiencing in that state of samadhi, to say, and he goes back into the world, and he experiences everything filled with that God consciousness. That's what we're talking about here. Shiva and Shakti. He experiences the reality of his own being everywhere. And so that is universal God consciousness, where there's nothing outside of it. See, in the state of God consciousness, when the yogi finishes, when he's having that experience of God consciousness in his samadhi, when he comes out of that samadhi into the world, he's back in the world. He may have been changed. He may be a happier person, or more intuitive, whatever about it. He's still an individual being, and he still lives in the world, and he sees the world just as he did before he entered that state of samadhi. But that yogi, when his consciousness is transformed into universal God consciousness, then that yogi, when he's in the world, he sees the reality of he sees the reality of his God consciousness everywhere. Nothing's outside of it. That's what we're just told. It's just everywhere you are. Where there's good things, bad things, there's no such thing as good things, bad things. It's all the reality of your own being everywhere. And that's called universal God consciousness, because there's nothing outside of that God consciousness. The whole world is contained in it, not separate from it.
Thank you, Dad. That's always such a good clarity and reminder. I forget certain names, so thank you for that. There's another question that runs on this one. Akriti says, of what Swamiji was just talking about, if a Siddha person sees divinity in bad things as well, doesn't it make them indifferent? It's hard to understand from a limited mind to understand how bad things are divine as well.
I guess you could say that bad because there is only God. This reality is one. Now we're understanding our understanding in our teaching, our Shaivism, that this is the reality of God is one everywhere. There's not two things, three things. This is a monism. So the reality of God is permeating everything. It is everything. It is everything. So that bad thing, so-called bad thing, we can call it bad thing, whatever that is. And that also is filled with the God consciousness, because nothing is outside of that God consciousness. That's the reality of everything, That's the nature of that.
And from our limited perspective, we consider something bad when we don't really know why or how it happened. How did that happen to me? How did, but like John just said, in that universal state, they're beyond the differentiated perception. There's the differentiated perception of good and bad. And the yogi in that full state of full knowledge, he said, that universal state where all of those 5 energies, the energy of consciousness, bliss, will, knowledge, and action are all full. There's nothing which is unknown. And therefore there's a complete knowingness of why bad might be happening and looking bad to everybody else. But to the yogi, it's just a play of consciousness in its own unfolding nature.
We have a few more questions, but I think it's good that we go to the second part of Swamiji's of the Shiva Sutras, and then we can come back to some.
Yeah, because now this is another very interesting part. There's also, Claudia's put some links, I think, for people who want to understand a bit more about this whole Siddha yogini play, and it comes up in a number of places in volume 1, 2, and 3 of Tantra Loka, and 4, and also in the Manual of Self-Realization. And she's given the references there of the verses and even the page numbers.
Oops.
Very good, Claudia.
Jodi's gone.
I think I'm here.
But we
So-
can hardly hear you.
No, I can hear George clearly.
Again,
Okay.
I think it's
There's
from your
some-
side.
Now it's good.
So this we're going to start this new verse 43, which is really interesting because he's going to move into this whole idea, which is again one of the most important point, or if not the most important point that Swamiji always emphasizes on, is understanding the breath, and understanding the difference between what's called prana, which is normal breathing in and out, and what's called pranana, pranan shakti. Swamiji calls it pranan shakti, which is the energy and the life force of the whole universe, from where everybody draws their breath. So we'll hear Swamiji, and then we'll discuss this in a bit of detail afterwards, I'm sure.
Nanu bodhkanchikatvam api asya kasmat tadaiva na nivartate. He has explained previously in previous sutras that he has got bodhkanchikata, the covering of 5 elements. 5 elements have covered him. 5 elements are there existing, not the elements of ignorance, not deh kanchukata, deh pran parishtak shunya. Only bhutas, panchamahabhutas are there, only elementary world is there, so he has nothing to do with that. There is no fruit is produced by that, by that body. He puts question. If that Buddha Kanchukata is there after realization, after he realizes the real truth of his being, still he persists that Buddha Kanchukata, he holds the Buddha Kanchukata, the covering of 5 elements. Why? What is the cause of this? He puts question. Nanu Buddha Kanchikatam api asya kasmat tadaiva na nivarti. Why this also, this Buddha Kanchikata also does not disappear there and then at the time of realization. Nanu Buddha Kanchikatam api asya kasmat tadaiva na nivartati. Why this covering also does not vanish there and then at the time of realizing one's own reality of being. To that he answers, Naisargika Prana Sambandha. This connection of pranas, connection of breathing and breathing in and out, is Naisargika. He has come just when he traveled out from God consciousness, from that eternal state. It is Naisargika, it is Swabhavika, this is his nature. traveling with breathing movement. As soon as he has come down from the state of God consciousness, he has entered in the journey of breathing in and out. Because it is already said by Kalata, Prak Samvit Prane Parinata. The first change of God consciousness takes place in breath. First change is in breath. So his breathing is there. As long as his breathing is there, his body must be there to breathe. So he maintains this body of 5 elements. Nisargat Swatantriyatmana Swabhavat Ayata. This connection with breath has come by nature of his Swatantra Shakti. And that is explained in Naisargika, this word Naisargika. Because Samvit Kila Bhagavati Vishu Vaichitram Avbhyavasi Yeshu. Whenever this Supreme Goddess of Consciousness intends to create this differentiated universe, then Sankoch Avvasa Purvakam, she creates first limitation in her being. Sankuchat Ashesh Vishu Supratatmak Pranana Rup Grahak Bhumikam Shata. Then she enters in the state of breathless breath. First breath, Pranan. Pranan is that breath where this body does not get stiffened. It is not stiff, but there is no breathing in and out. In my hand there is no breathing in and out, but stiffness is not there. There is breath. This kind of breath is called Pranan. So in that breath she is transformed first. At the first movement. At the first movement that energy is transformed in this kind of breath, Pranan. And then in breathing in and out. This is the second movement.
Again, we're talking about that Pranan, that life force. George mentioned this just briefly. That life force which gives, I guess that's what we call it, life force. It gives life to everything. That's why in this verse he said, bodies aren't stiff, they have life. They're filled with life. And when life is gone, that person dies. It leaves his eyes. I mean, you've seen depictions of that person. People dying, and the light of life goes out of their eyes, and they're not there anymore from the point of view of life.
And stiffness comes, rigor mortis, as they call it, and it comes fairly quickly. Yep. Shana.
Could you, because we had this discussion the other day and it was really helpful for myself, maybe Claudia, maybe all of us. Could you show that diagram and share the difference between Pranan and
Yes.
Prana?
Okay, this is a drawing that we put up from time to time, which kind of explains what Swamiji was just talking about graphically. Because you have in the state of Paramashiva these two terms, Prakash and Vimarsh. You have the light of consciousness and Vimarsha, which is the awareness of that consciousness. Okay, so the light of consciousness and the consciousness of light, these are in the state of the universal state. And when Shiva and Shakti, or when he used the word Swatantriya, when out of that, the Swatantriya, the freedom to manifest happens, then Shiva and Shakti take on the states of consciousness and bliss. And from that state, when he said, Kalata, one of the yogis, one of the saints of Kashmir, he said the first manifestation out of Shakti, out of Shiva and Shakti, is what's called Pranan breath. This is the breath which flows out from this state of universal God consciousness. It's still universal. It's not as universal, we can say, as Prakash and Vimarsh, but it is the first happening where creation is going to start. And like John just said, the whole universe is filled with this. This Pranan breath is the life force of everything in the universe. Every limited being, and even the unlimited beings, the gods in heaven and whatever, they draw their breath from this Pranan Shakti. And when we breathe it in, down here we've got this little Purusha and Prakriti representing us, the Purusha and our nature, Prakriti, in our own small universe, our own small world. And once we breathe that in from this external turning point in the breath, then that Pranan becomes Prana. It becomes the breath that functions within the body. And there, for those that follow yoga, there are 5 different kinds of prana that function in the body. So all beings are from the lowest beings right up to the gods and goddesses, who even in subtle bodies are still connected. No one's disconnected from this pranan breath, because it is the essence of life force for the whole universe. And it's everywhere, and that's why no matter where you go, wherever you walk, wherever you go, anywhere you breathe in and out, you're taking your breath in every time from that external turning point of the breath, which is a very important part of our meditation. You're actually breathing in the essence of Shiva and Shakti into your own, either the gross breath going into the lungs, filling up the body with energy, and we're breathing out. And when we breathe out, somebody once said, we always, on the external point of our breathing out, we touch the essence of Shiva and Shakti together. So this is just a graphic of what Swamiji just talked about.
Just stay there for a moment, George, because then further, you and Dad and Mom were mentioning or discussing when a person reaches that state of universal God consciousness, right? Then are they one then with the pranan? Right?
Yes.
Is it inhale and exhale pranan instead of prana?
What happens, Swamiji said a very interesting thing, is that actually the 2 turning points in the breath is the doorway to this pranan shakti, this energy of breath. Each of the turning points, which is so important in Shaivism, because you can breathe in and out for centuries, he said, but if you don't place your awareness and become aware of those turning points in the breath, then you don't enter that state with awareness. And when they open up, what happens is your normal breathing, Swamiji, as you meditate more and more and more and more, you start to find there's another kind of breath which is pervading underneath even our inward and outward breath. And that's the Pranan Shakti. It's the source of those breaths. And the yogis and the yoginis who really practice and come to that state of one-pointed awareness in meditation start to feel the quality of their gross inward and outward breath changes, and there's a subtle expansion within the breath itself, and that's the Pranan Shakti starting to be felt. It's always there, but we're not aware of it because we don't have that one-pointed awareness.
And so in this regard, right? Huh? In this regard, this is very good, George. I think the important point, from my point to understand is, and we say when the yogi meditates, and his breath slips down, then he stops breathing, but he's still there, right? So what's that about? So when the yogi stops breathing, then his pranan, that underlying essence, life force that permeates his being, that takes over. That's already there. So he lives because of that. In other words, just because his breathing stops, actually physical breathing that we know, he doesn't die because this pranan keeps him alive because it is life force. So that's why that's how that works.
The Pranan Shakti is directly related to Kundalini energy, the rise of the energy that John said. When the normal breath sips down and stops, then with the rise of that, you start to go through these phases of the Pranan Shakti, and as it rises up more and more, there's more expansion and expansion and expansion until the yogi gets that full rise to Sahasrara chakra, which they say is in the top of the head, then there's the full expansion of that Pranan Shakti. And Swamiji, yogis live in that. The fully elevated yogi lives in that Pranan Shakti all the time. They're never separated from that. And although from the observer's point of view, they're breathing in and out, but that breath is very, very superficial compared to what is actually happening. And because they have that connection of Pranan Shakti, they have the connection with everybody in the universe is breathing from that same source. There's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in. So we have quite a few questions, so I'll go over a few of them. From our last part where Swamiji was speaking, not Swamiji speaking as much, but where you, George, and Dad were discussing about, I don't know, heavy things going on and how you don't get affected by that, a divine person. So Leah says, but we witnessed and experienced the Holocaust with millions of lives lost as bad. And as humans, we experience that pain, and it's hard to step back and accept that as divine.
Yes. I mean, that's in the Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna had that same problem because he was having to kill his relatives, all the people he was really attached to and loved and taught him in his life. All of a sudden, he has to kill all these people, and he experiences death and destruction all around him, and he is part of that, and he can't understand how that works. You know, how can he be doing that and still, you know, how can that happen in the world of divinity? And I think that you have to just understand it from my point of view that it's the play. It's hard to understand that it's play, you know, but if we understand that nobody is born and nobody's died, that, you know, that those people who died, all those horrible thing that happened, and all those horrible things that happened, those people don't really die. I mean, they're not gone. They're gone for the moment because they seem to be gone in this world, but they're not gone. And they come back and they're here again. It goes on again and again. And we may have been part of that ourselves at some time in the millions of times that we've been born, that sometime we may have been in some kind of catastrophe or something horrible like that. And we died in that, and then we were reborn. But from the point of view outside with compassion, it's hard to understand how anything like that could have any relationship to the divine. And it only has relationship to the divine if you understand, I guess, to see the bigger picture, the idea that nobody dies. That's what Krishna was telling Arjuna, trying to help him understand, you know, that you're not killing anybody. Their argument, he said, I've already killed them. That's what Krishna tells Arjuna. This meaning, you know, that death is an idea that it's not that permanent idea. That it's just a temporary moment of passing on. And again, we come again and again. Never ending. We've been here forever.
What's interesting from the Gita point of view is that the first 5-6 chapters of the Gita, actually 7, 8, and 9, Krishna's teaching Arjuna all the knowledge, you know, karma yoga, or jnana yoga, karma yoga, and dharma, everything about that. But Arjuna still doesn't get it. He said, but why do I have to fight? Like John just said, look at the consequences of this, the consequences of so many people dying. And Krishna says, you know, he says, even those wise pundits, the wise, cannot understand the ways of karma. They're infinite. Only those in universal consciousness can understand, because they're beyond this, you know, thing of law of action and reaction. But what happens in the end, because Arjuna still doesn't get it, so Krishna has to show him his universal form. And when he shows his universal form, the Vishwarupa, and Arjuna actually sees what's happening on that universal level, which we just talked about, with all of them rushing into Krishna's mouth, and, you know, some are falling down at his feet, and that's when Arjuna just pleads with Krishna in the end, no, please withdraw this form. I had no idea who you were. I thought you were just my friend. And Swami, in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Swamiji gives a very graphic description of that. And for those of you who haven't seen it, that's in the replays of these sanghas. The first one we did, all the replays. I've got an echo here. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah,
But
you do have an echo, like George number 2 is in there in the background.
there must be a ghost. Anyway.
I just wanted to add something though of what you all are mentioning, because Mom might be able to add to this, is that Swamiji, divine as he was, he also, if something really heavy happened, he would show emotion, you know, like that one teacher, right, Mom? The one who had all of his students poison themselves when you told him about that. Remember you went over to the ashram and told him about that guy?
What was the name of it?
Jonestown.
Yeah,
Jonestown.
Jonestown. And what did Swamiji say, or what happened to Swamiji?
He wept.
Yeah, he wept.
Yeah.
He felt that pain.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in some ways, you know, that's what one of the causes of the vegetarian feels about the killing of animals. The pain of that.
Yeah, and that is it's not uncommon. I mean, really elevated yogis often have those experiences, and it's a lot of that's documented. I'm not sure. I think it's in the autobiography of a yogi, either Yogananda or maybe his master or grandmaster. He suddenly stops and he says, "I'm drowning off the coast of Japan." He goes into a state of shock. "I'm drowning off the coast of Japan," and when they found out right at that time, a boat had capsized and all these people drowned in the water. And in his universal body, he felt that anguish, you know. And it's easy for us to think about this little globe that we live in, this ball, this earth, or, you know, Prithvi, Loka. But universality means that yogi experiences all the 118 worlds, all the 36 tattvas, you know, going all the way through it at the same time. We're going to get into that next week with you know, these next few sutras where he talks about how these energies of Gora and the Agora, Gora and Goratari energies play us. So
Before we go, I just wanted to mention one thing. I don't know where time flies by. It's already almost 9 o'clock. But I just wanted to mention that next year, my friend John Vossler is a meditation teacher, and myself are taking a group to Costa Rica for 6 days for a beautiful immersed experience. So I'm going to put the link up there for you to even just come and join the meeting to see if you're interested or not. It's this Tuesday at 6 p.m. And the link is up there for you to go to my website. And just wanted to add that in. So thank you. George, Mom, Dad.
Also, because, I mean, there's a very auspicious period right now. We're in almost in the middle now, a little past the middle of this Durga, 9 days of Durga, you know, this Navaratri. It's a very big event here in Kathmandu. And I saw that my friend Sham Savedi came online. He was so eager to hear our webinar tonight. So here it's very traditional. All the families go home to their house, and for the next 4 or 5 days they're there and they do these pujas up to Durga Ashtami, and then the 9th day, and they get blessings from their parents and their ancestors. And of course in India this is a really big time. So these 9 days of Navaratri, you know, are a very special time here. And for Hindus throughout the world, I'm sure. John, take us.
Shauna comes upstairs and says, "Why don't you guys smile more?" We're smiling inside. So thank you, everybody, for coming. It's such a joy to have you all here. We learn so much. It's wonderful. So hope to see you next Saturday. And Hopeful Sunday is also there for puja if you can join us. God bless you, all of you.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Namaste.